Hey guys, Mike Goldstein, I'm Easy Dating Coach here. Thank you for joining us. Whoa, do we have an exciting host? Damona Hoffman is here, and I'm so excited. She is like the queen of the podcast. Damona, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
I should just say the queen of content, because you just create so much in our space, and I love all of it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's my background. I started out in television and I still work in television now as a dating coach and host on air. So I figured why not take what I already know and meld it with the thing that I love doing now and I've been doing for the last 15 years and make something romantic and beautiful with it.
Yes. So today's topic is we're talking about the three biggest online dating mistakes that women make and how to fix them. And this is so important. Like, I know we're not going to get that many clicks because of this title, but we have to do it. And I'm going to convince all of you to watch this, because if you change how you do online dating, you are going to get so much better results. You are going to land your man quicker, and he's going to be so ecstatic that you showed up in his life. And really, I mean, let's be honest, 1 out of 3 marriages right now is happening through online dating. This is how you're probably going to get your guy. 95% of my clients that get married find them through online dating. And if you're doing it the way Damona and I show you how to do it, you get rock star results. So that's why we brought Damona on, so she can change your life forever and get you your partner quickly.
Yeah, I got mine, so I have proof it works.
Oh, did you do it through online dating?
I did. And this was a long time ago, Mike. This was like, I met my husband 16 years ago on a dating app. Like I always say, before it was cool, back when we used to have to do I'll tell you actually, just a funny story. When I went online, at that time, we didn't have smartphones, Mike. So I had to go to Kinko's, not even FedEx Kinko's. I had to go to Kinko's with my little pictures, and I was like, can you help me scan these? It was the most embarrassing moment of my life, but it worked out for me in the end. So it just goes to show, you put in a little bit of effort and you really make dating your focus, it can work. So that was sort of the beginning of my online dating journey. And then I started writing profiles for other people soon after that. And that was the beginning of this wonderful journey that I've been on, helping other people find love.
Wow.
Kinko's.
See, yeah, I was like, that just like is sitting in my brain now. Like, that is dedication. You went to a place, uploaded pictures, had the guy have to see your pictures, and did the whole process. And then we remember the 56K modem of it, like ding, ding, like the picture finally coming on.
Yeah, it was probably dial-up. It was probably dial-up back then. No, I don't know if it was dial-up, but I do remember the embarrassment. So then when people tell me, when I ask someone to make dating a priority, like I do a program called the 30-Day Dating Playbook, and I'm like, just give me 30 days. And then they do 2 weeks and they're like, oh, I can't do it. I'm like, I went to FedEx Kinko's to get my picture scanned. Like, I'm just asking for a little bit of effort. And that's really the big game changer for a lot of my clients with online dating, is just putting the plan around it, putting the process around it. Like, we're out here dating by chance. And I know with all of the women that you coach, you help people create a plan to meet their man. And that's what's going to separate the women from the girls with dating apps.
Ooh, I love it. All right, let's hop into it. You said there's 3 huge mistakes people are making with online dating. Let's start with number 1. What is it?
Well, there's like 25 mistakes, like, but I had to narrow it down to 3. And the first one is really about how you're using the app. So back in the day when we used to meet people out on the street and we weren't all buried in our phones and unable to even make eye contact because we were always looking down at a screen, back in that day, men used to do a lot of approaching women. And men still do a lot of approaching women on dating apps. But the problem is that we're still approaching dating apps like we did dating in the real world. And women are sitting here waiting for chivalry and old-fashioned dating rules to start to apply to the dating apps, and it's keeping them single. The majority of women still don't send outgoing messages, and this is a huge mistake because you have to consider the dating app algorithms, and you have to consider that you might not be coming up in that person's search, or that person may have a bunch of other messages that they've gotten or people that they're chatting with, and you have to be able to be productive and be visible to them in order to cut through the clutter and the chaos. And I know your viewers know what I'm talking about, because now everybody's on the apps. Like you said, 1 in 3 marriages begin on a dating app now. So you have to think from the perspective of there's so much volume here. How do I stand out? And you can do it with a pretty picture. There are a lot of women out there that have gorgeous online dating photos, but you have to look at it from the perspective of the person viewing the profiles. And like I said, there are a lot of people out there with gorgeous online dating photos. So having a gorgeous photo isn't quite enough. Taking the initiative is the big game changer that switches things up for a lot of my clients and listeners on my podcast, Dates and Mates.
Yes.
I know you know this. And you're always telling women to like think like a man, right? When you're on the dating app. So that you shared that nugget of wisdom on my podcast, and I think it's golden.
You are golden. This is like the best piece of advice I've ever heard for online dating. If I'm a man and a woman messages me, I am doing backflips, Damona. Like, I am so happy. Like, I don't get that many messages. When I finally get one, and imagine if it's from someone that like I'm somewhat attracted to and maybe has some personality and some similarities, I literally cartwheels, backflips, like handsprings. I don't even know how to do any of those things, but I'm going to do it because I'm so excited a woman is messaging me. So that is gold.
I just have to address, because I was just speaking with a single lady who's on the apps, and she said, I feel like if I send the first message, it like makes me feel less attractive. And I just have to address, because I'm sure there's a lot of people watching this that feel like they're either upsetting the rules of chivalry, or it makes it seem like they're desperate that they have to go out and make the first move. And I don't know about you, Mike, but I don't look at it that way at all. I look at it like you are the prize and you get to do the picking. And how great do you feel as a guy, Mike, if a woman has picked you to send a message to? That really is a mindset shift that I think needs to change. And like I said, I've been doing this 15 years. I've been actually saying this. This has been something I've been advising women since the beginning. And yet I look at the data, and Match comes out with their Singles in America study every year. They showed me the data. Again, it's less than 20% of women are sending that initial message. So you can beat the odds just by like literally beating the odds and being one of those people that is more visible and more proactive.
That's awesome. I just want to explain how men work, or specifically how I work, just so women get it.
Yes, ready?
It's wildly binary how we're thinking. Like, I'm just like, okay, I have Wednesday and Thursday open. I would like a date for Wednesday night. I don't care if I message the woman, she messages me. All I know is it would be exciting if I had someone who looks somewhat attractive and has some similar values and could potentially be my life partner that I could go out with on Wednesday.
Yes.
So I don't care who messages, like rock and roll, let's get on. I want to book that day. And that's my binary. I either have Wednesday filled or I'm sitting at home watching TV. I would like to go on the date.
Yeah. And there's a difference between sending an initial message and chasing, right? Like everyone watching this has experienced at some point being chased by someone that they weren't that into. So I'm just saying send the initial message. I'm not saying like then follow up with him with multiple texts and be like, why haven't you called me back? I asked you out on a date, and triangulating his location and Instagram stalking. Like, that's a whole different level. And we don't need to talk about that today. I'm sure you address that in other videos. There's a difference between being assertive and being aggressive, being visible and being crazy and chasing. And so I'm not saying anything that's leaning to the crazy side. I'm just saying, hello, nice to meet you. Let's connect on something that we're both interested in and see what happens from there.
Love it. All right, Damona. Number one. Let's talk about number two. What's the number two biggest mistake?
Number two biggest mistake are poor profiles. I can't tell you how many times someone comes to me and says, I've been trying dating apps and they just don't work. They're exhausting. I never get messages from the right guys. And I've done this so many times. I did an article in Oprah Magazine earlier this year. I did an article on Shondaland.com. I'm doing a profile polish live on Access Hollywood. I've shown people how to have a great profile so many times. It's out there, public and free. And yet I'll look at the profile and it doesn't say what you think you're trying to say, or it's just completely hodgepodge thrown together. The great thing about the saturation of dating apps and that they are so accessible and easy to use now, Facebook dating is free on your phone. If you have Facebook, it's like right there. All you have to do is go through your Facebook profile and click a few photos and suddenly you're on. Fill out a few questions and the barrier for entry is really low. But what I see happening now is that people, girls they'll get together with their girlfriend, they're having some wine and they're like, yeah, let's put this profile together. And they put about 30 minutes of effort into it, put it up there, and then they wonder why they haven't gotten the responses out of it that they're looking for. And it's oftentimes set it and forget it. So I'll ask, and this happened again, like when I did the Shondaland article, I asked the woman who had been frustrated and disappointed with her results on, I think she was on Hinge, for a long time. I asked her, how long has it been since you made any changes to this profile? And she was like, oh, about 1.5 years, 2 years. That's too long. If the profile is not working for you, that's your bait, that's your cookie. That's like pulling them in, right? The breadcrumbs that you're leaving to have him follow the trail to you. If it's not working, you have to make a change with it. And really, the profile, I see it as a living document. So if you're not updating your profile at least every 3 months, then your profile is out of date. It's not working unless your profile is perfect and you have all of the messages coming in and it's working great for you. If it's working great, don't change it. But if it's not, or if you feel like the messages have started to dry up, you have to iterate and make little changes. And don't change the whole profile at once, but make a change to your primary photo and then see what that does for you. And then make a little change to the text, but continue to update the profile until you get to the point where you feel like it's a really good representation of not only who you are, but the people that you're trying to attract. And you'll see that by the messages that you end up getting.
Yes. And for everyone watching, we're going to circle back in a few minutes and we're going to really dive into what Damona thinks a profile should look like. So stay tuned for that. But my male brain is keeping us focused. So Damona, what is number 3, the third biggest online dating mistake?
Building a fantasy relationship. And we've all done it. I know, before I met my husband, I was on the apps for a while, even before I met him. And here's what happens. You make a connection with someone, then you start chatting or emailing back and forth, and you start to build this idea of this person in your head. Could he really be the same faith as me and want the same things? And he has a good job and he has a great relationship with his mother. And then you start planning the wedding and you realize by the time you get to the date, you've actually created this whole idea of a person that may or may not exist in real life. And so when you get to the date, there's no way that guy can actually live up to your expectations. There's no way any real man can compete with fantasy man in your mind. So this happens for 2 reasons. One, because we get ahead of ourselves, and two, because a lot of people are spending too long on the app, chatting, texting, thinking that they are building a rapport and sussing someone out before they decide to meet on a date, when really that's actually wasting time and contributing to the fantasy relationship factor. And you're much better off getting offline quickly. I say no less than 24 hours. I don't like same day dates unless you're just looking to hook up, and that's fine. And we could do a whole other video on like hookup tips, but I coach people into relationships, and I know you do too. So not same day dates, but anywhere between 1 and 7 days. If you go beyond a week, chances are that your chances of really making a connection with that person are greatly diminished if it's too long between the time you first meet online and the time you meet in the real world.
Ah, so women should not be creating stories. Is that the mistake? A story that they're making up that's not necessarily something. What?
Focus on how to tell your own story, because that's something we're not even talking about flirting today, but I think we talked about it when you were on the Dates and Mates podcast. But flirting is also a process of telling your own story in an interesting way, but you don't want to tell a fantasy story to yourself about what is going to happen with that person before you've even met them.
Absolutely. So Damona, we're finally circling back around. What elements make a profile amazing and draws the guy in and just gets you your partner?
Well, I'll start with that storytelling piece that we were just talking about. The way the mind works, you will be more memorable if you can paint a picture and tell a story. So a lot of times I'll read profiles that just have a list of, I want X, Y, Z. And a list is not going to stick with anyone. It's not going to inspire anyone. It's not going to make anyone go down the list and be like, oh, I'm that, I'm that, I'm that. But if you can tell a story about your life, and really make it colorful. Now, when I say story, a lot of times people are like, well, that means the profile is going to be too long. And the average length of a profile now in like Hinge or Bumble or Tinder, it's basically 1 or 2 sentences. It's 1 paragraph. And there's so much that you can do. And I know this from also being a content creator. You can say a lot more sometimes using fewer words. If you're using passion words, if you're using storytelling techniques to paint the picture, it's much more engaging than if you just list something out or try, or just, you know, have like a generic phrase like, I see this all the time. I'm just as comfortable in sweats as I am in heels. Like, what does that really tell me about, like, yeah, everyone likes to dress up, but also not dress up. Like, you know, that doesn't tell me anything about you. But if you say something like, one day I'll tell you the story about how I ended up backstage at the Rihanna concert wearing my bunny slippers. I don't know. I just totally made that up off the top of my head.
Good.
But you're going to be like, whoa, okay, so this person likes music, or she knows people and she gets out, but also bunny slippers, that's a quirky story. That's something that I want to hear. And you're going to remember after this interview, you're going to be like, bunny slippers. You're going to be thinking about that later. But telling a story that's colorful is much more interesting and magnetic than just writing a list or writing something generic. That's like a catch-all. People try to do that, right? They try to make it so that they're not offending anyone, and they could appeal to everyone. But by doing that, you actually appeal to no one. You're much more likely to get someone to message you if you have specifics that could be a turn on for some and a turn off for others.
Yeah. I got to ask you, you used the word, you said passion words. will get people excited. And I have no clue what that means. So I'd love for you to explain it to me.
Yeah. So every time I write a profile or help someone write a profile, I'll go through and say, is this the most interesting word that I can use to tell the story? So instead of saying, I love my family, saying something that is a little more descriptive, like my nieces make me giggle. That's more passionate. That has an emotion to it, right? Taking anything generic like I enjoy, I like, and saying I'm ravenous for blah blah blah. That's going to make your profile immediately stand out and be more attractive and magnetic. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, so it's being specific, and then it's also, instead of appealing to everyone, you're like going down and saying what you really are passionate about, not like kind of on the fence about it, sounds like. Because ravenous is like, you're all in on this thing.
Yeah, you have to be all in on whatever it is you're all in on. Be all in on it. And there's actually some studies from OkCupid that looked at profiles that were polarizing, and they found that, of course, there's like the top 10% of women that were model gorgeous and get 90% of the messages. But then they found that the women that were more polarizing, that some guys were like, yick, no, actually got more messages, because a lot of the guys that the ones that didn't say yick, no, were like, oh, heck yes, she's into Comic-Con, or, you know, she's a race car driver, or like whatever weird thing that you think, oh, he wouldn't be into that. There are the men that are going to be actually attracted to that. And those are the ones that take initiative to write. They were getting more messages than the women that were just somewhere in the middle. So if they were considered like a 4, 5, 6, or a 7 on a 10-point scale, those are the women that were really losing out, because they were like, they were pretty, they were saying nice things, but they weren't polarizing people. So if you're not in that top 10%, and honey, like how many of us are, if you're not in that top 10%, then it's actually better to be more specific and turn some people off, but be true to yourself. Don't do something just to be bold and out there. But if it's authentic and true to yourself, I often tell clients to wear their weird, like put the weird thing, put the quirky thing out there, because that's going to be the difference between him going like, oh, she seems nice, and him looking at it and saying, oh, she seems right for me.
I love that. So not only do you get more messages when you're polarizing, but also you're starting to get a higher percentage of the right messages, which is so valuable. No one on here wants to be wasting time going on dates with people that don't make sense. So like to your point, like if you're into Comic-Con, let's get the guys that are also into Comic-Con and let's go on a date with them instead of people that just don't make sense for you.
Yeah. And you don't want to be hiding down the road like, oh, well, I have to do something this weekend and I'm not going to tell you. Like if you're with someone that isn't into that, eventually it's going to come out. Wouldn't it be better to just connect with someone that is either into that or can also appreciate that you're into that? That's what I think.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's time. Gonna put you on the spot. What dating apps should our users be using? Dating apps, dating sites? What do you think? Which one? Talk to me.
They should be using all of them.
All of them?
But not all at the same time.
Okay.
People often ask me, what is the best dating app? And they're often discouraged when I tell them, I can't tell you that. And I'm not withholding information. What I'm saying is you have to find the app that's best for you. And each app has different dating pool, functionality, success rate based on where you are located. So I think it's a good idea to find out who you know that's been using the dating app successfully. Figure out if they're sort of in your genre, your wheelhouse, and then just try out the app. Just create a profile and start using the app and see if you are, and most of the profiles are somewhat transferable. Like, yes, you might have to answer a couple more questions, but the about me and your photos are totally transferable from app to app. So it doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort to try out different apps, and give it like a month. Don't sign on for 2 days and be like, ugh, I hate this app, and then you're gone. That's not really enough time to see if something is working for you or not. But if you are someone that gets really overwhelmed by searching or swiping, then an app like a Coffee Meets Bagel, where you get one match a day, might be better for you, because then they're curated, or an eHarmony, where you're not going out there just searching. I like options. I'm a maximizer. So I like the apps like the OkCupids and the Matches, where you have plenty of options, and I like the ability to search. Personally, I don't like for the app to tell me who I should look at and swipe through. I like to be able to do keyword searches like you can do on OkCupid. I like to search by certain fields and interests like you can in Match. So that's me. But I sometimes have clients that they only want to do swipe apps, or they find that they're only attracted to guys on a particular app. I think it's a good idea to be on 2 different apps at the same time. More than that, and it can get very overwhelming, but to be on apps that serve a different purpose. So if you're on, say, Bumble and Hinge, you might be finding that you're getting a lot of duplication. So you might want to be on one legacy site, like a Plenty of Fish or a Match, as well as, say, a Tinder or a Bumble, or a Coffee Meets Bagel and a Bumble. Something that gives you a different dating pool, or possibly even a niche app. Like when I started out as a dating coach, I started writing for JDate, and JDate they have thousands, maybe even millions of weddings under their belt, because they're matching people that already know they're looking for someone specifically who's Jewish. Although I do know a few people who've met non-Jews on the site. So, hey, it's for anyone. It's for anyone. But you know that if you are looking for something specific, and if that is the top criteria, like if you must be with a Christian man, you should probably be on Christian Mingle as at least one of your sites, because the pool may be smaller, but you know everyone there meets your top level criteria.
Love it.
That was a lot, I know. It was a lot of words to not answer your question.
No, that
but
did
I want
answer
people
it.
to know they have options.
Can I add one piece that I never ever talk about?
Yes.
It's like a secret that I've never mentioned in all the years. But to your point, like it's very important to go deep. Like, so if you're picking 2 sites, you have to go deep in that site. And what I mean by deep is, let's say you're doing like 10 sites and you're like barely poking at each one. If you're in 1 or 2 and going deep, you're a daily active user, and apps really care about that. If you're going on, every day or every other day, well, you're active. So that means in the algorithm, they push you to more people. And then if you're messaging people, if you're going back and forth a lot of them have that built into the algorithm where they're like, we like this person because they're having a good user experience with the other users. So if all that's happening, you get pushed to more people versus someone who's giving people bad experiences, like whether you're getting blocked by someone or that kind of stuff, you're going to get pushed to less people. So behave well, do the right things, and you're going to do much better on all these apps and on the sites.
Yeah, and that speaks to the proactivity piece that we were mentioning in tip 1. You're exactly right. That the app algorithm likes people who like the app. And you want to be boosted in the search, because all the time people will come to me and they'll say, well, I had a lot of matches at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it just dried up, and they weren't showing me any people, or I wasn't getting any match suggestions, or the people weren't right for me. And it's like, you got to program the app, tell the app who you like, who you want to see. And you have to be proactive, because all the time when I would ask people then, well, how often are you going on the app now? They would say, oh, only when I get a message. And so then it becomes a foregone conclusion. The less you use the app, the less the app is promoting you, and the fewer messages you're going to start receiving. So you're exactly right. The more messages you send out, the more messages you respond to, even if it's just, oh, thanks, I don't think it's a match, but good luck to you. That is also telling the app, oh, this is a person who people like. We need to keep showing her to other people. And she is active and she's continuing to respond instead of just ignoring everybody.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we always talk about messaging and everyone wants to talk about the first message, but I'm bored by that. I think everyone's talked about the first message. I want to talk about like the second, the third, the 10th message. And the reason I want to talk about this, I was working with Marty Batista's clients the other day, and one of them was having a rough day, and mid-message just was like, you know what? Like a guy asked her on a date who she was excited about, like hit all the criteria, like divorced guy, 2 kids, great job, wildly articulate, reads all these books, and she was like a published author, so she wanted someone who was a book guy, just totally fit. But she was having a long day at work, and she goes, you know, I'm swamped at work. Contact me in a week. We're like, what are you doing? Like, this guy's going to be so turned off by that. So Damona, what can women say in messages? All right, you be this woman. You're interested in the guy. You've already had a dialogue. He's trying to set up the date. Now what do we do? And you're busy and you can't meet right now.
I have to say, Mike, I love how you think, because you do go into these areas that people aren't talking about. So yeah, I'm going to be bored with the first message too. Second message is where it's at. And actually that's an element of my 30-day dating playbook program. I help people with mindset, sourcing and screening, flirting and communication, presentation, and then follow through. And that's the biggest, I'm like, some of you have all of these things and then you're missing the follow through piece. So you have to inspire him to want to fight for you, to want to get to know you. I feel like there's this expectation, like a lot of times women will say to me, well, he's not putting himself out there. He's not really showing up for me. He's not chasing me. So I'm not that into it. But it's like, if you flip the perspective, you have to give him enough to want to fight for you. So I like to in this situation, I would coach a client to inspire him to want to see you. And again, we can use passion words for this and say something like, I'm so excited to see you. I can't wait to see you. My boss put this project on my desk. Can I see you on this date? Like really planting the seed. Can we do this? Like paint the picture, and don't make it like call me in a week, because that's putting all of the effort on him. But if you're like inspiring him that there's something great coming, if he can wait for a week for you, then he's more likely to follow through on it. But you have to remember, the speed of dating has increased. That's the biggest thing that's changed, Mike. That and communication have changed since I started doing this 15 years ago. That guy, in a week, he may have 10 other chats going in the app. And maybe he was really hot and heavy for you a week ago, but right now, a lot can change in that week. So then I would really ask yourself too, like, is this really a priority? And this is why I ask people to set aside a chunk of time that they are devoting to dating. Is this really a priority? Do you really have no time between now and next week? Because like I have to tell you, I'm living the dream, married, 2 kids. There are times when like, if my kids if I have to do something with the kids, it has to happen then. And that's the priority. And I can't say like, I'll turn in this project, right? Because that's what I've made my priority, is my family. So if dating is your priority, you've got to treat it with that much respect and seriousness. And even if it's just like, I have to do this project for work, but can we meet for a cup of coffee on Monday? Show him that you're making the effort paint the picture of what's there for him if he shows up for you. And then you're much more likely to be able to sustain. Because, yeah, we can get a lot of people first dates, Mike. We can do that. But the real magic is in what happens after, in the second, the third, the fourth, and so on. So that's really, if that's really your goal and that's what you're driving to, treat it like it has that level of importance in your life.
That was like the most glorious answer I've ever heard. And I really mean that. And I hope people rewind and watch this. Because, so first of all, you say you got to inspire the man, but then you went on to give the example of, I am so excited to see you. Like, that is like music to my ears. Like, I'm just like, yes.
And you know, Mike, I just have to say, a lot of us now are just playing it way too cool. And I hear so many times, well, I didn't tell him that I wanted to go out with him again because I didn't know if he liked me, or vice versa. And I'm like, if we can just stop hiding for a second, because everyone's so afraid that they're going to show up or say what they want and have the other person be like, no, thank you, that we're not revealing what we really feel and what we really want. And it's hurting us. It's hurting us. We have to like take that curtain away. And so many times, if you just speak what you want, like I say this to guys when I'm teaching them about approaching women, just tell her you think she's beautiful and you want to go out with her. That will already put you ahead of 90% of the guys that are just like, oh, I like her, but I don't know, maybe I can get her, maybe I can DM her, figure out what her Instagram handle is. It's like, no, just say it. Just say it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I get passionate about this.
No, I love that. Like, and women, don't be afraid to do it in person. If you see a cute guy and you want to go tell him he's cute, go for it. I always tell the story. I think in the last 10 years, I've been hit on in person. Let's call it twice.
Really?
I'm going to call it twice. It's awesome. It is like the greatest day of your life. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
No, I was going to ask if you think the woman needs any sort of a pickup line, because everybody is like, well, what do I say? If I talk to her, what do I say? So if we flip the script, tell the ladies what they should say to talk to you.
Oh boy.
You're going to get a bunch of messages.
I have 3 different levels of things you can say depending on how badass you are. And on how badass you are, you get better results with the more badassery, if you will. So if you want to be the coolest, you go up to him and tell him he's hot. Like, excuse me, you're good looking. Can we chat for a second? So that does really well. He's like, okay, she's hitting on me. This is awesome. Mid-tier is you just go up and say, hi, like, how are you? And he goes, I'm great. And then you talk. And he may have no idea if you're hitting on him or not. So you get mid-tier results. Or let's say it's a grocery store or something. You ask him a question like, hey, which tomato should I buy? Which ones are the tastiest? Or if you're at a bar, this one's easy and it crushes. Just go like, hey, would you mind taking a photo of my friends and I? And then you can start a conversation.
And then you ask him to take 6 more because you're like, no, the angle's wrong. So.
And then you say, you can't leave, you're hot. Stay. Meet my friends. Wait, hold on.
I think there's another mid-tier one where you comment on something like an outside, in something that inspires you that is in the environment. Or I often tell my clients to wear what I call conversation piece clothing. And so make something that he's wearing a conversation piece, or his hair, or anything. It's easier for women because we have all the things. But like, you know, guys pay attention to like what they put nice shoes on. They put a tie. Like if you're going out to meet a woman, you're putting effort. And they appreciate that you're recognizing that effort. Like, oh, look at you with your cute tie. You don't even have to say he's cute. If you're just like, look at you with your cute tie. That's enough for him to be like, oh, she's talking to me. She thinks my tie is cute. I put a lot of effort into choosing which tie to wear, and she likes it. So this is good. It's on.
Yes. I got to tell you a story. Do you mind?
Oh, no, I want to hear your stories.
All right. So one of my best friends just got married, and the best man is giving the speech. And he's like, in front of this is a 300-person wedding, so it was balls. Okay, anyway, 300-person wedding. He's like, I want to talk about how my guy used to hit on women and what his pickup line was. And his pickup line that I've heard probably a few hundred times was he'd go up to women and be like, can you name the 7 dwarves? All right, go. And so women steal that pickup line because he had great results with it. And most people can't even do it. But you're probably thinking about it now if you can do it. But it's such a great conversation starter. And it works.
I was in the play Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, so you know.
When I was a kid. So I would think I could do it. But now I'm going to be thinking about it. The question is, who do you think I played?
I don't even know. I can only think of one name of one, so it's just not a good one, so I'm not going to say it.
Sleepy? No.
That's the only one I can think of.
Dopey. Please not Dopey. No. I was Doc. I was the smart one, of course.
Oh, obviously. That fits you.
Thank you.
But see, look, that she's a woman, Damona, and this was a good conversation piece, and we both liked it.
Yes. Hopefully people will pick up on this and then take it out into the real world. And, we've been talking about dating apps this whole time. And I'm a huge fan of dating apps. I think it's the best way to practice your dating skills. And I do think dating and flirting are learned skills. And to increase your dating pool. But it shouldn't be the only thing that you're doing. And it will become overwhelming and frustrating if it's the only thing. So I like to couple it also with some IRL dating techniques.
Yes, IRL. Yeah, so both ways, great to meet people. Guys, Damona Hoffman, the queen of content. Specifically, she has probably the best podcast, if not, or one of the best, I want to put a shoe in my mouth, one of the best podcasts in the entire world on dating. I will put a link so you guys can go check it out. There's so much great content there, and she's fabulous on it. I was on the show at some point, so you guys can go watch that one if you want. Also, Damona is so nice. She has a free gift for everyone, which I will also put down below, and also as a pinned top comment, so it'll be in the description as a top comment. You will be able to find this stuff. Damona, what is the free gift you're giving away?
So we've been talking about dating apps this whole time. And often people say, I get what you're saying about the dating apps, Damona, but I don't even know where to begin, or I'm not a good writer. How do I create a good dating app profile? And so I created a profile starter kit, which basically takes all the guesswork out for you. It has prompts so that you can tell some of these stories that we were talking about. And it has also plug and play templates. If you're just like, I don't want to write it myself, I have templates that I've written that have worked for other profiles, and I made it so you can just fill in the blank with your own stories and your own values and the things that are unique about you. And you can be up and running with your dating profile. And we didn't even talk about photos today, but photos are really, really key to your profile. And so there's also a video on how to choose the right photos. And so you could be refreshing your dating profile if it's not working for you, or starting a new dating profile within 5 minutes or less, and one that really works, not one of those like half-assed jobs that we were talking about that you do when you're talking with your friends and drinking wine on a Friday night, like an actual good profile that's going to work for you. So it's at damonahoffman.com, and we'll put the links below, but it's called the Profile Starter Kit, and that's totally free and just the beginning of a completely different way of online dating for all of your viewers.
Yes, that is going to make life so much easier. I know it's so overwhelming to start that, and this is fantastic.
You got to start somewhere.
Anyway, Damona is glorious. Thank you so much for coming on here. I enjoyed this and so helpful. We all appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for being on the Dates and Mates podcast. That's also my labor of love. That's all free on all of the major podcast platforms. Mike, I've been doing it for 7 years. There's one reason why it's one of the best dating podcasts around. It's because I was there from the beginning. I broke the news of Tinder being released. We were there like before the Me Too movement. Like, we've covered everything on that show. So I have hundreds of episodes, including a really amazing episode with you that we talk about completely different things than we talked about today. So I hope your viewers will go and check out the Dates and Mates podcast. It's wherever you listen to podcasts as well. So thanks for having me, Mike.
You are very welcome. Thank you. And guys, we'll have a new video for you on Tuesday. Come check it out. And love all of you. Thanks for joining us. Till next time. Bye.